Okay, so this might be a short video, and the reason why, because we're going to sit down and cover, well, Wolverine issue number 94. Now, technically, this is a team-up book, right? Like, it's a crossover. You got Wolverine meeting up with Generation X, and it's kind of cool to see Wolverine still be that teacher for a new age of mutants, especially for Jubilee. And we kind of had talked about this before when it came to our coverage over the X-Men. We had kind of talked about the idea that for Wolverine, he was kind of like the father figure character for a lot of different characters on the X-Men. Now, around this time, Marvel Comics, Wolverine did have an adoptive daughter, but she does not really play a role in his life. She only appears here and there in Marvel Comics. But for Logan, he was that father for, Rogue or Kitty Pryde, but especially Jubilee when it came to the 1990s. So it's really more of Wolverine kind of keeping up that role as being a father for Jubilee. And honestly, to me, when it comes to Kitty Pryde and Logan, yes, I know they were very close, like father and daughter bond right there. But for me, it was more Jubilee and Logan. Like, you had Marvel sit down and really show us like, no, Logan wants to be there for Jubilee no matter what. He wants to be in her corner to help protect her. But either way, as we dive into issue number 94, we're really kind of diving into the idea where our last video had left off at, where you had Cyber be broken out by the Dark Riders. Now, as we all know, the Dark Riders are currently being led by Genesis. Now, originally, they were being led by Apocalypse, the whole idea of survival of the fittest. The strong may live, the weak may die, the strong may lead, the weak must follow. And so, for the Dark Riders, they're technically strong, but they're following Genesis, the son of Cable, who's right now trying to replace Apocalypse. But either way, when it came to Genesis, we saw in one of our earlier videos that he had mentioned the fact that it's time for his next project. And his next project is, of course, Wolverine. And so we see him going out of his way to get different pieces together to kind of help him with this project. One of those pieces would be Cyber. Now, Cyber is one of those characters we have seen many times in our coverage over the X-Men, right? But when it comes to Cyber, we're currently seeing with the Dark Riders and they're heading over to a town known as Aqaba. Now, Aqaba was a very major location over in the Cable series because when you had Tyler Dayspring trying to take over as the new Apocalypse, quotation marks right there, he had wrecked this entire city to pieces. But either way, for Cyber, when they do arrive at this location, you then have the Dark Riders begin to take him over to their boss, and that would be Genesis. And we're kind of left to wonder where this storyline is going to go when it comes to later books we're going to cover down the road. But now the rest of the book is going to be more about, Wolverine and Generation X. Now, we do jump over to their school where you do have everyone waiting for Wolverine to arrive. Now, for Jubilee, I kind of love this a lot because it really shows that father and daughter bond. And yes, they're not blood. They're kind of like, hey, she came to the X-Men. She needs someone in her corner. That was Logan, and he became like a father figure to her. But for Jubilee, she's telling everyone about Wolverine, and it kind of shows how excited she is to see the man who's kind of like a father to her. And everyone else is kind of like, okay, cool, we get it. Wolverine is cool, got the claws. He's coming here to teach us. That's great. We have no idea why you are so excited for. And for me personally, this is kind of cool because once you do have Wolverine arrive at the school, you have Banshee, Emma Frost, the instructors of the school, when they greet Logan, they're kind of like, hey, wait a second here, Logan. How in the world were you able to pass all our different sensors? Now, for Wolverine, he kind of realized how they have everything set up here in this area, because in this area you got deer, you got bears, you got all these different kinds of creatures. And so for Logan, he kind of like, you know what? I kind of figure out how everything's set up here because of the bears and also the deers and the rabbits. So I realized if I just crawl over to your school but stay in the outer area, then most likely I would be able to pass your sensors very easily. And that kind of shows how smart Logan is when it comes to things like this. And so you have Logan just walk in, go straight to the fridge and begin to chow down all the food they have inside the fridge. Now for Jubilee, she's kind of like, okay, cool. here he is. Now, something else we have to remember is that around this time in Marvel Comics, when it comes to Logan, he was kind of like a savage character. Let me explain. Now, some of y'all out there are going to get tired of me re-explaining things over and over again in all our videos, but just in case you got somebody just jumping into one of my videos, I kind of want to make sure to understand what's exactly happening when it came to different characters like Wolverine. You see, for Logan, this man was going through a big change. You see, there was this storyline called Fatal Attractions, where you had Magneto rip off the adamantium off the bones of Wolverine. Now, with that happening, of course, we learned that apparently when it came to Logan's mutation, originally, he was supposed to turn into a savage-like character as time went on. But thanks to adamantium, it stopped that process, allowing him to be somewhat of a regular man. Now, thanks to Magneto, when he ripped off the adamantium, that process had once again continued all over again. And so technically right now for Logan, he's becoming more savage as we speak. But the reason why he came here is all because of Jubilee, the person he looks at as a daughter. Now, for me personally, when it comes to Logan, I kind of like what he says here, because for Logan, he's telling us that with him being, this person, all this experience inside of him, he should try to pass on what he knows to the next generation of mutants, and that will be Generation X. But it's also him wanting to make sure that they have the right mindset. The whole idea of trying to get into a fight, because if you do get into a fight, you gotta have the right attitude. Whereas get to that fight, you want to end that fight with you winning, because sometimes when you get into a battle, you might not be able to retreat. You gotta stay and win that fight the best way you can. Now, the rest of the training session was supposed to be more of like Logan hiding in the shadows of the biosphere. The biosphere is kind of like the danger room for the X-Men, where for our young heroes, they use this as a way to train. Now, for our young heroes, they were supposed to find Logan. And the thing is, they do. But it kind of seems like they got lucky there, because for Logan, in the middle of the training session, he kind of realized there's something inside the biosphere that should not be there at all. Now, at first, he begins to question Emma and also Banshee, kind of like, hey, I know that this whole biosphere is just like the danger room, where you're kind of able to create all these different kinds of simulations. But you have Sean and also Emma kind of like, what are you even talking about, Logan? And the thing is, Logan does not tell them at all. Instead, he says, lock this place down and do not allow anybody to go inside at all. But as the following day jumps up on us, you have Banshee and also Emma tell us like, hey, listen, we ran different types of scans to see what Wolverine was talking about that could possibly be inside the biosphere. The problem was that they couldn't find anything at all, like literally at all. And so for them, to kind of like, we have no idea what Logan was possibly talking about. But you did have Jubilee and also Skin say, oh no, we do, and we saw it last night, right after our training session. And so the rest of the story is really more Skin and Jubilee telling us what they saw last night, because in the middle of the night, they heard Wolverine like go into the biosphere. They followed him and they watched him fight against some kind of creature better known as a token. Now, the token, what Banshee tells us, is the Raft of Death. And that's really it. And honestly, I tried my best to find more information about this token, but unfortunately with Google, I couldn't find much about it. But you do have Banshee kind of tell us that the way you had Wolverine get rid of the token was just being there. But for me personally, it's kind of like, no, him being there as a wild beast, a wild animal, being able to scare the token away, and the token left the biosphere. And that's really it. That's the ending of this book. And so yeah, guys, please leave me a like down below and subscribe. But guys, see y'all next time. Later.